Welcome to chapter 41 of Memoirs of a White Dooman. Now, for those who don't know what a dooman is, a dooman is, of course, someone who participates in the world of competitive pigeon seduction. So I thought it was quite appropriate as pretty much the only people who listen to this podcast are doomans and do womens. Now, do women? I forget. I mean, someone sent me this article like 2 weeks ago while I was doing my tour, titled Inside the Quirky World of Competitive Pigeon Seduction. And it's essentially an article about this urban pastime that happens in Scotland called do racing. And obviously a do is a colloquial term in Scotland for a pigeon. Alright, so these people get out there, and I tried to, the best I could understand it is, they send two pigeons up in the air. Actually, I'll summarize the article to you all. Anyway, this is obviously appropriate because in 2 weeks' time, I think it is. What's the date today? Yeah, in 2 weeks' time, the live bird watching podcast is a go. So if you didn't see it during the week, right? I'm jumping all over the shop here, but if you didn't see it during the week, I officially announced that the live bird watching podcast in Melbourne is a go ahead. We're finding Peter. Like, really, we're letting Peter come to us. I think we'll try out multiple tactics on the day, and I think, we'll look for him for a bit. We'll actively go out searching, but then I think if we're having no luck there, we'll just be sitting there, and we'll pull like a reverse psychology on him and be like, oh, whatever, we're not looking for you anymore, Peter, and we've just, almost like the freeze out we did a couple of weeks ago, but this time it's not a social media freeze out. We go to his home and then ignore the shit out of him, and hopefully he comes out of his tree and says, hey. I mean, I don't really have that many tactics for finding him, but again, I've been doing my research, which is where this article comes in. So, thank you to whoever sent me this article. I do forget, I apologize. It was on Snapchat, that's why I forget. But, yeah, so I'm going to summarize this article. It's quite appropriate to what we're all trying to achieve on this podcast, which is pigeon seduction. I mean, we're trying to all really seduce a pigeon to the point where he wants to give us a cheeky interview, and, anything could happen after that. I mean, I'm not going to fuck him, but you guys during the week, like, I'm just trying to interview the pigeon, and I noticed everyone's like, oh, I'm friends with Peter on Facebook, right, as many of you are, and he's just getting in relationships with you all. Some of you are, like, in complicated relationships. One of you is engaged to Peter. I mean, I just wanted to interview him. You guys just want to fuck him. So, can we get on the same page here as a Fatberg community? And, I'm happy if we're all trying to fuck him, that's fine. But can we all kind of get on the same page? I personally just want to interview Peter. That's what it was about from the start. But anyway, so this article about the competitive world of pigeon racing. So technically, if you're a man, you're a dooman. And if you're a woman who competes in this sport, you're obviously a do woman. And it says the relationship between a dooman and his do, which is the pigeon, has the elements of a passion-fueled romance, seduction, the thrill of the chase. And look, that sentence alone pretty much sums up like what we're trying to achieve here. I mean, not often does like as a Snapchat article like really hit home. It pretty much, this article encapsulates everything that we're trying to achieve, and it makes me happy that someone sent me this, so thank you. And there was a quote in the article. I'll try and find it. It says, it was quite full. Yeah, it says, you know when a dooman is going to leave his wife because the birds are waiting at the door as well. So what that quote's saying is, some Scottish men who are dooman and love their doos more than their wife. And I'll be honest, that's the kind of enthusiasm that we need at the live bird watching podcast in Melbourne. I'll give out the details after we've gone through this article. But yeah, I mean, that kind of enthusiasm, willing to leave the love of your life for your do, is pretty much where I stand as well on seductive pigeon hunting. I mean, Emily, I'm not sure if Emily listens, but look, Emily, if you're listening to this podcast, I obviously don't have a wife, she's my girlfriend, but look, you can't fight the passion, it says in this article, between a man and his do. Apparently, if you're like a legit dooman, that your passion-fueled romance... I'm not making any of this up, by the way. It's all in this article. The passion-fueled romance between a man and his do is more important than any other relationship a human can have. So, look, this article is right on board where we're at a podcast right now, which is 2 weeks out from the biggest thing, this podcast we've ever attempted. I mean, it's the only thing we've really ever attempted. The rest of this podcast has just been me complaining about my white problems. So finally, we're doing some good. I mean, we're getting... I don't think... Okay, putting that there, this could be a world first. I don't think any podcast or even any radio station has ever gotten an interview with a pigeon before. The only thing I can think of that would have come close is like a David Attenborough documentary. You know those ones where he puts the turds, like he puts cameras in like poos and spies on elephants, and like he puts cameras in trees just so they can get the best shot? The only thing that would have come close to getting a pigeon interview is he put like a microphone in a bin and maybe caught a conversation between 2 pigeons. But other than that, this is probably a world first that we're attempting here. So get on board. Anyway, I'll finish reading the article. And by the way, if you don't already have a pen or pad out and aren't taking notes right now, please pause the podcast and do so, because this podcast and about competitive pigeon seduction is going to help us greatly in our quest to find Peter. So get out a pen and start taking notes. Now, it says that Scots have practiced do flying since the Victorian era, and it says it's a sport, but it seems like one of those sports that like parents encourage their kids who aren't into sport. Like, you know, they play chess after school, or, you know, like shit like that. It's like, yeah, little Tommy does a sport. You're like, dude, the pigeon does the work, okay? It's like shooting. So I hate that that's in the Olympics. I get it. It's like an old-timey, like, it's a skill thing. But, dude, anyway, it's like horse riding. Horse riding is the perfect example of that. Especially, the horse jumping one. Like, really, the rider does jack shit. And I bet you there's someone who's into equestrian who's like, that is wrong. But I don't do any research. I just say shit and I think it. And honestly, I am never impressed. But you never see the horse up on the podium in the Olympics, do you, in equestrian? That pisses me off. I'm like, the rider just kind of sat there along for the ride, then like gets up there on the platform and takes the credit, puts the medal on, and the horse is just like getting shot in the stable because it fucked its leg on a jump. Yeah, like, that's not... Anyway, I just don't rate horse events. I just think it's... I'm not even about the cruelty. I just don't like that they don't give the horse credit. Anyway, so this is I'll explain the sport of do racing, just in case you're interested. From what I best understand is it says how it works. On a nice day, a doorman will send out one of his pigeons, which they keep in all their like cages. It's not a very humane sport, this doorman thing. Anyway, and then a rival doorman will look out his window of his house, sitting opposite. So I'm assuming you have to be next door neighbours with a fellow pigeon creep. And then if he spots a pigeon above his neighbourhood, then he quickly releases one of his pigeons, and then the pigeons fly towards each other. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh my god, then the pigeons are going to fight. No, that's not what happens at all. Essentially, the dudes just yell out and start mimicking and cooing the sound of birds, to then woo the other birds. So the doormen send out their pigeon, but their job is to try and woo the other dude's pigeon into their backyard. And if they're lucky enough to lure the other pigeon with their bird calls into their backyard, then they get to like keep the other dude's pigeon. So every time they do this sport, you're playing for pink slips. Like, if you lose your pigeon. It's a real, like, risky sport. What about if you bought one pigeon and then you lost the first round? You can't be a doorman anymore. And what about if I don't know if it's doormaning. Anyway, what about if this is all you wanted to do with your life? I just realized I've been talking about this for 10 minutes. But you know what? 10 more, because this is the best sport I've ever heard of. So, pretty much what I'm trying to say here is, what I really got out of this article was that you can do mimicking sounds of the birds. Like, if you mimic and coo, so if you learn how to speak pigeon, essentially, from the ground, you can attract pigeons, which means that, really, we just have to get a doorman at the live podcast, and then Peter will come to us because he's a pigeon, and apparently they all fall for that shit. And what about if Peter, we don't know that Peter is owned by another Dooman, and then so happens that the other Doomans release Peter. That means we need a pigeon, and then we just do this sport. We all start yelling at the pigeon at Peter to come down, and then we win, and we just take his pigeon. That's the best possible way I could see this live podcast going. I mean, or it could just be shit. It could be cold. It could be raining, and there's 40 of us. I don't know how many people are going to rock up. There's already like 90 people in the Facebook event, so this could be large. But there could be like 100 people sitting there just yelling at birds, and then we all get moved on by the cops. I have no idea how this live bird watching podcast is going to go, but I'm bloody excited to find out. I think that's almost the end of the article. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Oh yeah, sorry. And then after they've played this sport right, the winner then earns bragging rights at the local pub and shows off his bird collection. So really, the whole sport is just stealing pigeons by luring them into your backyard. I mean, I'm all about that as someone who's on a pigeon hunt himself, and I'm sure you guys are. So I hope you took notes there. Standing on the ground, I was thinking of bringing my megaphone. Where's the megaphone? See, I've got this megaphone, right, as you all know, if you're an old-time podcast fan. Oh, wait, how are we going? All right. Sometimes it stuffs up. All right, so essentially, I'm going to probably bring the megaphone to the live podcast, and all I've got to do is work out how to do a pigeon call, and then say just cuckoo, cuckoo, and then hopefully Peter will just come flying down, and then, look, it could be a 3-minute podcast. I mean, we could get him in the first minute and then do a quick 2-minute interview, and then we could be all out of there. It could be wrapped up by 4:03. I mean, that'd be the best possible scenario for me. But yeah, I feel like it's not going to pan out that way. I feel like it's going to be more of a grind, more of like a stakeout, manhunt kind of situation. But I'm bloody excited. So yeah, that's the end of that article. Thank you to the person who sent it in. I thought that was very interesting, and will probably help us in our pursuit of Peter greatly. So if you're interested in coming to the live podcast to finally find Peter once and for all, it is I forget what date I made it. I think it was July 2nd. Yeah, that's the Sunday. It's Sunday, July 2nd at 4 p.m. So we're gonna meet I'll be there probably at like 3:30, just hanging around, looking like a loser with my fucking binoculars. But if you want to rock up from 3:30 p.m. onwards at Federation Square, then at 4 we'll all walk down to the river, which is, if you don't know, it's like 50 meters away. And I'm still trying to find out the last known location of Peter. I've been trying to contact the admins. If anyone can try and source that information during the week from Peter, that'd be great. I just want to know his last known location, so that's where we could probably start our stakeout. So yeah, if you haven't seen all the stuff on Facebook, or some people I know don't have Facebook and they would have missed my announcement of this event, but it's quite exciting. There's already like 30 people going, 60 interested. It's really one of those events, a live birdwatching podcast, where people just don't want to commit. They don't want to commit that they're going to it, and that's fine. If I saw live birdwatching podcast, I'd be confused as well. But yeah, so essentially I've already opened up the Elite Birdwatching Task Force applications as well. So what I'm doing to improve our chances of finding Peter during the live podcast is I'm assembling an Elite Birdwatching Task Force, and what that is, it's just it's about 7 positions, I think, of elite members of our bird hunt that we'll kind of cross to throughout the podcast. So yeah, you have to be up to being recorded and being on the podcast. Heaps of people have already applied. I made a Google form for people to apply to. I'll get up the Google form now. So it's really just a short summary of questions. You can still apply because I still haven't confirmed any roles. But so you pretty much just have to write in your name. Then I say, do you think you have what it takes to find Peter? And you can either say yes, people in my village call me the Pigeon Hunter, or no, I'm just coming for the memes. Both are acceptable answers. And then I asked you all, what position of the Elite Task Force would you most desire? And the positions up for grabs are, the most popular one by far so far has been the lurer. So it's the person who provides hot chips or other bird bait to attract Peter. Very important and key position in this hunt. So yeah, I get why it's popular, because people want to be, I think people understand that that's probably going to be the best method of attracting him. But we also need a tracker. And this one, I'll admit, not a very popular role so far. So if you want to do this, please submit. The tracker, essentially, his job on the live podcast and on the day will be, or he or she, will investigate bird poop and footprints to locate Peter. So essentially, they're a turd tracker looking for Peter poops. So, and the next position on the elite birdwatching task force will be the translator, and that's similar to a doorman. I should probably change that. Man or woman, it's someone who can communicate with the birds, just like because I'll kind of give you a sentence to say in pigeon, like I'll be like, "Oi, fat fuck, where's Peter?" Because if it's obviously another fat bird, and you just got to translate that for me into pigeon. I'm sure that's not hard to learn how to speak pigeon in 2 weeks, so I couldn't be bothered. But yeah, that position's open for someone. The next position, this one is an optional position. We don't have to do this. I just thought it was a good tactic. This is kind of used as a bit of a last resort. The role is called Patricia Pigeon, which is I need someone to dress up as a girl pigeon to seduce Peter. So, that's if we get to 45 minutes into the podcast and there's been no Peter sighting, and we're just and all we're going to say is, Patricia, no, pretty much we'll just say, "Where's Patricia?" And then whoever, I've assigned to be that member of the elite task force, that's your time to shine. And you just, I don't know, you pretty much have to dress as a sexy pigeon. So if you get a pigeon mask and maybe put some bows around it, pretty much we just need a sexy pigeon to seduce Peter. I'm not proud of that idea either. I don't want anyone to think that I'm proud of it. I just think it's a necessary idea. It's a good last resort, because who doesn't like a sexy pigeon if you're another pigeon? I mean, I'm assuming that will work. Anyway, the next position of the elite task force, which you can apply for all these, by the way, is the decoy. And the decoy is someone dressed as a pigeon, so Peter thinks that we're no longer looking for him. So it's more of a bit of we pretend that we've found Peter. So we get someone else to put on another pigeon costume, and we're like, "Oh, hey Peter, hey, thanks for joining us." And then actual Peter will be like, "Oh, they're no longer looking for me. I don't have to hide anymore." And then that's how we'll find him. And then boom, someone will be waiting there with a net. Presumably the Beastmaster, which is the next member of the elite task force. And the Beastmaster's job is someone who can tame the beast and kind of get him interview ready. Get him prepped for the interview. So that's a really important. That's probably the most important role when we actually find Peter. Because someone who's kind of been in hiding for this long, but yet is still this level of celebrity that Peter is. He's got to need a few minutes to kind of prepare for his first big interview. It's like Chappelle. I'm sure there's someone, when Chappelle Corby does her first big interview that, there's probably a Beastmaster, someone who can tame Chappelle, be like, "Hey, 60 Minutes is here, Tracy Grimshaw," whoever's interviewing her will just be like, "Now just deep breath," and then cuckoo, cuckoo, and then Chappelle will be like, "Yep, ready to go." So that's pretty much the Beastmaster's role. You could maybe try it. Maybe we could get you in to do it for Chappelle first, and then you'd be really ready for Peter. Because, you start off with the low level, names like Chappelle Corby, people who the media don't really care about, and then you go, boom, up to Peter, which is obviously the big news story. Man, I can't believe I'm the only Australian media outlet that's covering this hunt. Have you ever thought about that? This is the biggest pigeon hunt that's happening, probably Australia-wide, definitely in Melbourne. And I turn on the news every night expecting, other people to be covering the same story. And apparently supermarket prices between, the war between Coles and Woolies is more of a pressing issue. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's why mainstream media is going down the shitter, because that's why Channel 10 are going bust, because they're not covering the big issues, which is obviously the reason for their demise. But everyone would have seen in the podcast Facebook group that Peter recently went on a trip to Russia and waved to Putin. You may have seen that going viral. See, the internet's onto Peter, but I don't know. It seems mainstream media are trying to boycott it. But maybe maybe there's a conspiracy behind it. We'll find out at the live birdwatching podcast, won't we? What was I going to talk about next? Oh yeah, sorry. I was gonna. There's one more role on the elite birdwatching task force, which is the bird expert. And this person essentially just has to know slightly more about birds than me. And if you've listened to this podcast, that's not difficult. So it's pretty much anyone else. And I would like... Actually, you know what? My dad has a book of like 500 birds. And it's just got like a page on every single bird that exists. And I'll probably bring that book along to the live podcast. I'm going to have to bring like a bloody suitcase with all this shit in it. So yeah, I pretty much, maybe because obviously most of the podcast will be bird related, and we might say something that needs to be fact checked, and and I'll be like, hey, bird expert, fact check that. And even if you just have Google the thing, then hit me back 2 minutes later with the right information, and that way it won't be an inaccurate kind of, because I want bird fans to enjoy this podcast as well. It can't be all just pigeon fans exclusively. So yeah, go on the, if you want to find how to apply for the Elite Birdwatching Task Force, it's on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, you can shoot me an email and I'll send you the link to apply. So essentially, during the week, I will be calling people, and obviously, because if you're part of the Elite Birdwatching Task Force, you have to take the Sacred Birdwatching Oath, which is, it's how every member gets inducted into the Elite Birdwatching Task Force. It's just protocol. I'm just doing it by the book. So obviously I'm going to call you. It's more of a job interview as well. I'm going to see if you've got what it takes to be part of this elite task force. And then if I think you've got what it takes, you'll take the Sacred Birdwatching Oath. And then, yeah, all you've got to do is just rock up to the live podcast and fulfill your duty. Don't let this community down. Because really, and also, if you don't want to be a part of the elite birdwatching task force, don't be ashamed of yourself. It's not a job for anyone. It's elite. You can still come to the live birdwatching podcast and have a blast, but you can just come with your binoculars and have a general look, because it's a lot of pressure. Being part of that elite group that we will make. We may need to call upon you to find Peter. You may be the person who finds Peter, but if you think you're ready to step up to that level of leadership and that level of responsibility during this live podcast, then yeah, apply through the Google form. It's in the Facebook group. I'll post it again during the week. And I will start at the end of this podcast. So just before this podcast, I only worked out how to record phone calls on iPhones because of their privacy laws. Androids, you can just record the phone call. It gives you an option. But anyway, I worked out how to do it. So I'll be calling people. There'll be a call at the end of this podcast of a mystery member of the Elite Task Force. So get ready to find out who that is. There was already a hint in the event description, but it's a mystery role on the task force that wasn't in the application. And because this job was suited for one man and one man only, and that our phone call will be at the end of the podcast. So you'll be able to kind of see what kind of questions I might ask you during the week. So get ready for that. All the elite birdwatching phone calls should be in next week's podcast, or at least a montage edited together, cut together for time. Let's be honest, we don't cut anything together for time. I don't do that shit on this podcast. I've been talking about this podcast I've been talking about the live birdwatching podcast now for 23 minutes and 39 seconds. That's just enough, I think. Another thing before I move on about the live birdwatching podcast. Sorry, I will talk about other stuff that happened during the week. I just was really excited because this is like the biggest thing we've ever done on this podcast. Like, if you had have told me that the first ever live podcast I would do was just sitting outside with a bunch of fat bird enthusiasts hunting for a pigeon named Peter, I would not have believed you, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So I really look forward to it. Please get down. It's going to be very fun. This is the last thing that I just wanted to say. It's a free event because obviously we're doing it in public and it's just a bit of fun. But I'm not asking for. It's highly encouraged that you give a $5 donation. Now that's straight off the bat, that donation is not to me. I thought, if we're going to doing something stupid, we could raise some money for a good cause. Now, many of you who listen to this podcast would obviously be familiar with my girlfriend Emily, and those who came to the shows on the national tour may have, met her if you bought merch or whatever. My girlfriend Emily has a close friend of hers that is fighting brain cancer at the moment, and she's just got it for the third time. Her friend's name is Tisha, and Tisha's been really great to Emily. She's been incredible to Emily. She gave Emily her first job in her field of beauty therapy, because that's what Emily's pursuing. She's already beaten cancer twice, but she's since been just recently diagnosed with the brain cancer for the third time. And the treatment is super expensive. It's $5,000 for the treatment, and the family's aiming to raise $50,000, to cover all these costs of her treatment. And Emily kind of asked me, she was a bit obviously concerned about her friend and stuff, so she... Oh, wait, hang on. She asked me... Sorry, I had to get something off the floor. She asked me if I could share the link on my page, and I was like, I don't think that will do anything, because, But I thought, you guys are the real fans and the OG people who like my shit. So I thought, if we're going to get together and hunt for Peter, I thought, let's try and help someone and help out a family that really needs it in the process. So look at me being nice for once on this podcast. Who would have thought? So essentially... your $5 donation, it's not just a straight donation, it's actually the payment for your official signed birdwatching license, which everyone will really need to be officially a part of the hunt, because if we find Peter and you don't have your official birdwatching license, probably won't get credited for being part of the find. So yeah, if you're going to come, it's $5 donation, and all the money will go straight to the GoFundMe account, which you can see. I'm not making this shit up in case you think I'm trying to get your money. There's a GoFundMe link. I've posted it during the week. Some of you might have already seen it. Go check it out. It's a lot more information of what Tisha and her family are actually suffering through. So go read it. It's a great cause, I think. And I just thought, you know what? Don't be a dog. Don't be a falcon, because that's the pigeon's natural predator. Don't be a falcon, and it's $5, and you'll get your birdwatching license. We'll get together, have a great time, and it's going to be a really fun event. Because here's the thing, I didn't want to make any money off this event. In the future, I probably will do a live podcast where it's a proper one at a venue, and it'll be paid entry and stuff. But that's because you got to pay for the venue and stuff. And also, I've already lost money. I bought a new $300 portable microphone to record this live birdwatching podcast in. So I'm not trying to make money off this live podcast or whatever, and I've funded that through all the people that came to my shows. So it's seriously the people that come to the shows is the reason why I can do all this. And also, I'll have shirts up on... I'll talk about that later. But yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, the point is, I don't want to make money out of this live podcast. I just want to help a family who need. I think that's quite a nice thing to do. And I've never really I've got this really big online following or whatever, but I've never feel like I've done anything, positive with it to help people. So I thought this is a great opportunity. If we're going to get together and find Peter, we may as well, make a small difference in the process. And then at the end, we'll just donate whatever the amount of money is. If it's $20, 4 people rock up, great. If it's $500, that's even better. I really hope more than 4 people rock up, by the way. There's so many people in the Facebook event. It'd be really lame if I was just there with just the people in the elite birdwatching task force, and we're all just sitting there with binoculars, and people are just going to walk past what the fuck are they doing? They're going to think it's some weird cancelling session for Birdwatchers Anonymous or something. Anyway, I've been talking about this birdwatching thing for enough. I just wanted to give you guys all the information, all the tactics. Oh yeah, by the way, during the week, send in tactics, especially if you're coming along to the live birdwatching podcast. Send in your tactics, because really, I know just as much about pigeon seduction as you guys do, which is a lot. Because apparently you guys also spend all week Googling it. Yeah, Caitlin said during the week, my parents think I'm on drugs because my search history is comprised of YouTube videos about fat pigeons, fat bird catching, bird mating calls, and how to catch a fat bird with a bed sheet. And I was just like, yep, you're not alone, Caitlin. Except my parents don't think I'm on drugs. They just are disappointed in my career choices. there's a difference. They're like, what are you pursuing again? Oh, I thought you were pursuing comedy. And I was like, yeah, I am. They're like, well, why do you just talk about fat birds all the time? And I was telling Mum, I'm like, yeah, so we're doing a live bird watching podcast. And she's like, what? Who would want to come to that? And then I was just like, yeah, fuck, you're not wrong. But apparently the interest is there. There's already 90 people in the group, and I hadn't even talked about it yet on the podcast. So it's going to be an absolute hoot of an event. I'd say it's going to be one of the funnest birdwatching podcasts ever done, which is probably the only, but still the funnest. So yeah, well, what did I want to talk about on this podcast? Oh yeah, I'm so glad, I'm just so glad, guys, that I don't have to plug shit anymore. I mean, I did spend half an hour just then plugging a live birdwatching podcast. But that's a free event, so I don't really feel bad. But I don't have to plug my shows and shit anymore. Do you know how, I feel bad for you guys. It got tiring for me as well. Constantly trying to get people to come to my shit. Next year, when I tour, I'm going to try and make it a goal where I just spend, 2 months promoting it and then 1 month doing the tour. And then it's just done. I feel like I spent 6 months, talking about shows this year. And I'm really sorry. It's because it was my first year and, it's venues kind of screw you around because they don't really know who you are. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll have you, man. And they don't. Anyway, so, it was a bit of a bitch to organise this year. I've got to do a massive thank you to Jazz from Unsigned Tours and Productions. She booked every single show and it wasn't possible without her. I don't think she listens to the podcast. But anyway, she's, my producer and it was awesome having her on because I'm not signed to any management label or anything yet, just because I don't want to be. I've been approached and stuff, but never I just think if I can do the shows and stuff without management, why would I give someone 30%? Why would I give someone a cut to do shit I can already do on my own? Anyway, that's behind the scenes dribble for you all that you guys don't need to know about. But anyway, big thanks to Jazz. The tour would not have been possible without her. And also a huge thanks to Emily, my girlfriend, who you guys would have all met. She came to the in-state shows with me. I think she was at every show except Newcastle. And yeah, she sold the merch. But she wasn't just selling merch. She was doing everything. She was door person thingo. And I was like, I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't have been there. I would have been selling my own tickets on the door, or I would have had to pay a homeless dude to do it off the street. I don't know what I would have done. This shit's way harder to organize than I thought it would be. It's it's a real type of industry where you go into it and all you think, all you see as a consumer is what videos I put out. You listen to the podcast every week and you see my show and that you're oh, that must be so easy. Luke just does an hour every week of a podcast, blah, blah, blah. And all you see is the content. I spent 3 hours this morning trying to work out how to record a phone call just so I can make one shit meme call and get someone to take a sacred bird oath. 3 hours of my day. I went to go to the shop. I bought this audio splitter. I had to run down to the shop and buy all this equipment. And I'm just spending way too much money on shit. I received a new tripod in the mail today, which wasn't cheap. I think that was $300 as well. And I'm I don't know how I always think, how do I afford this shit? And I'm I can't afford this shit, but I just click buy. Like an idiot. And now I'm finally got some pretty good gear, but I just haven't received any money yet. I received money obviously from the shows, but that's it. And I received this tripod in the mail just before. And the box is huge. It's a meter long box, and it looks I pulled it out, and the tripod looks like a bazooka. It looks like someone attached a bazooka and an assault rifle together, but then put a little camera attachment on the top, and it's sitting in my bedroom right now. And I'm not sure if I'm I'm not sure if I'm happy with it, because it's sturdy, but I also think it's going to explode. It looks like a weapon. Anyway, the point is, I've been, putting a lot of effort into the behind the scenes, which, especially when this tour has been going on, and I just wanted to thank all the people who've been helping me out with that, which is, it's been a huge help, and I couldn't have done it without those people. So, thanks to Emily and Jazz and, Lewis and stuff. You guys know who you are. And Stefan as well, helped me with the website. Anyway, I just wanted to thank people. I just think it's a good thing to do, because I appreciate it, and it'd be so fucked without all those people. You guys wouldn't have any content. It'd just be me, I don't know, dribbling in my bed, thinking about all the shit I have to do. which is what I do anyway, but, you know. Alright, so what's next? Oh yeah, so my boss, right, I came back from the comedy festival after work, and I came back from my tour, and I came back to work, and that sucked, man. Like, people think I'm killing it, like, after the tour. People, like, all my actual friends, they're like, oh, bro, you sold out a show in Sydney, like, are you like, close to moving out? And you're just like, dude, I still have a job, like, I still work, like, a part-time job. Like, I managed to drop a shift. So, you know, I made enough money. I worked out to be able to work one less time a week. So now I only work twice a week, which is awesome. So yeah, I have a lot more time this year for doing this shit, which is cool. But like, people think I'm killing it. And just like, dude, it's my first year. Like, no one even gets out of uni and starts killing it. It's very irregular that starts killing it in their first year. And I feel like I'm still studying comedy. You know what I mean? I'm still learning everything. I wake up every day and I always try and learn one new thing. Like today, the thing was learn how to record phone calls. And now, for the rest of time, I can record shitty prank calls now on this podcast or call out people. And that'll be like a really fun addition to this podcast, right? So every day I just try and learn a new thing. And you know, like, I feel like I'm, you know, in 3 years' time, I will have, you know, learnt almost everything, and then I can start, hopefully, cashing in off shows or whatever. I don't know how I'm going to start making money from this shit, but, yeah, the point is, I'm doing this for, you know, like, obviously I want this to be my job, but everyone thinks I'm killing it, and then you're like, dude, where did I start this story? Oh, yeah, my boss at work, right? So I went back to work, and, because that sucked. That was so bad, man. I felt like a professional comedian, you know, for like 2 months, because I was touring, I was doing in-state shows, and all these people were coming out, and you feel like, oh my god, this is like my life now. And then the tour ends, and then the money stops coming in, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta go back to work. And then I got up to work, and my boss just says this thing to me that made me like, oh yeah, he's got a point. And he's like really supportive of my comedy and stuff. I take shifts off all the time to do this shit, and you know, he's great and stuff, and he's fully behind it. But yeah, essentially, he challenged me to quit by the end of the year. He was like, if we're having this conversation in 1 year's time, I'll be pretty disappointed. And I was like, you know what? That's a good goal. So how's that? My boss challenge me to quit, to try and be able to quit my job just so I can be doing comedy full time. He's like, dude, you're going well, you're killing it, but honestly, if you're still here working in a year, I'm going to be disappointed. I hope for your sake that you're not here anymore. And I was just like, what a legend. Like, what a fucking champ. He knows, like, that it's just like a dead-end job. And like he's probably, like, actually, no, not for him, because he's the manager, but like, you know, for anyone working, like, you know, part-time at, like, a leisure company or anything that's like a uni job, even if you're a bar staff, you're like, there's no promotion in that. You can't move up in that company. You just serve coffees or get a new job. So, like, I'm just like, you know what? You make a good point. I'm not going to be here in 1 year's time. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, guys. In 1 year, at least my plan is that before the comedy festival, I just quit my job, and I never come back. Because this year, like, I took 2 months off my job, but I had to go back, which sucked. But next year, I'm not coming back. So whether or not, I don't know. I'll work it out, guys. I've thought about doing a Patreon and stuff, but I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm doing enough quality. I think the content, the quality's good, but I'm not doing enough consistent content to warrant that being funded. And a few of you are really nice and have hit me up already going like, bro, we want to support your shit. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't want you to support it yet. I feel like I can give you better content, you know, that's worth paying for. But I'll sort it out. Whether or not I work that out, you know, either by doing crowdfunding stuff like Patreon, or I do, like, you know, business deals, like I do videos for companies and stuff, like sponsored videos. I'll work it out, but yeah, I'm really trying to. That's my goal for the year, guys. I just wanted to tell you my goal, so that in 1 year we can all either have a big fucking laugh about how much I've failed, or we can all celebrate and go, Luke did it. He quit his shitty job and is now a full-time pigeon hunter. That's what I want to be. You know, some kids want to grow up to be a fireman. Other kids want to grow up to be a comedian. Other kids want to grow up to be a rock star. I want to be a dooman, okay? That's what I want to be. I want to fly my bird up and then lure in some other fuckhead's bird and steal his bird. And that's what I like about the sport. You play for pink slips. It's no mucking around. It's like, I fucked it. I lost my pigeon. Anyway, I should stop. I actually had stories to tell, and we've been going for 40 minutes. Also, sorry, I forgot to say this earlier. Some of you have probably already realized as well, it's over halfway through the podcast. And if you're a big fan of the podcast or a regular listener, you'll know that the I just stuffed that up. The segment that we usually do in the middle of the podcast is the fun fact. Now, this week's fun fact is not fun, because it's actually a non-fun fact. And that fact is that this week there is no fun fact. Now, I know what you're thinking. The shock, horror, someone probably just died. But, well, actually, that was pretty fun, thinking about that. But the reason why there's no fun fact is I thought you guys have been spoiled. You guys have been, I didn't put in the fun fact horn last week. I got shit again. And it's a bit of me sooking, but a bit of me feeling the need to abstain from fun facts for a couple of weeks. So then when we do the live fun fact, we forget how much fun it is, kind of thing. Like, we bring an air horn, we drop the fun fact, and, I want it to really shake up Melbourne. I want people from, like, we're doing it near Federation Square. I want people, at the town hall to hear it, to hear the horn go off. They don't even have to hear the fact. All they've got to do is just hear an air horn, and then people will just be going about their days, drinking their shitty Melbourne coffee, going, a fun fact has been said. And then they just continue about their days. But everyone in Melbourne should be pepped up. So I'm thinking if I do it this week, we'll have it'll be like inflation. Like there'll be too much fun facts going round and stuff. You've got to make it worth something. So let's abstain from fun facts for the next 2 weeks. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to bloody find it as hard as you can. I'm going to attach myself to like a fun drip during the week and just put it in my arm just because, to get that dosage of fun. I'm going to have to go back and listen to old podcasts and reminisce of all the fun times we had. But yeah, no fun fact this week, partly due to me sooking because I forgot to put the fun fact horn in again. And you guys all gave me shit again. But this week, though, I got ahead of the scandal. If you didn't see in the Facebook group, I got in there within half an hour of the podcast uploading and just said, just because that's what you got to do. If you know there's going to be a scandal against you, you've got to get it out there. You've got to get the truth out there before the media, before they start, everyone starts, making up what they want to hear. So I just said, I forgot to put the horn in again, but I wanted to get ahead of the scandal this time. Angry react only. And you guys didn't hold back either. There were, how many angry reacts were there? There was about 70. And then some people pride react because they think it's funny. But you know what? I can't judge people. I made a whole viral, video series on just ignoring a blatant fucking sign. Like, if someone's like, oh, don't stand there, I just stood there. So if I was like, angry react only, someone ha reacts, I can't judge them. I did that for months. So I based a whole national tour around that joke. So look, I encourage it, and well played. So in Centrelink the other day, I wanted to tell this story just before we wrap up. Any story that starts with in Centrelink is going to be a cracker. And for everyone who saw my show, they would know I already have a few good Centrelink stories. But this one happened during the week, so I was going to get my a new concession card. I don't actually get money off Centrelink. So that's why I can't afford this shit, because they don't even give me money anymore, because I'm not studying. They just know I'm a dickhead, so they don't encourage full-time dickheadery with financial benefits. As if the government doesn't fund that. Like, you can, if you're a student, you get funding. Oh, my parents are divorced. Here's $300 a week. Oh, I live in a rural area. Here's $400 a week. Oh, I'm a full-time cockhead. None. So, thanks, Malcolm Turnbull, or whoever's running that system. Anyway, I didn't get shit from Centrelink, so I was trying to get a new concession card so I get cheaper public transport, right? Because fuck paying full price. And I was sitting there, and these two dudes just walked in, and the dude behind me, he kept forgetting why he was in Centrelink. Like, he was that dumb. He was like, wait, why are we here again? He's like talking to his mate. He's like, hey, so why the fuck are we here? He's like, and the other dude's like, to prove that we are retarded, bro. And they're just having this conversation. He's like, oh, right, yeah, right. So we're here to prove that we're retarded, so then we get the money. And these guys like, yeah, bro. He's like, okay, cool. And then they'd start talking about other shit. Like, they'd be like, oh, there's no Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi here. This is fucked. and that they were just making like a huge scene, and the staff were like, hey, shh, like shushing these two guys, right? And they were just like, you know, they'd have 2 minutes of conversation, then their conversation would lull down, and that they'd stop talking, and then the dude who asked the first time was just like, "Oi, so why are we still here, bro? Like, why the fuck are we in Centrelink?" And his bro's like, "To prove that we're retarded." And he's like, "Oh, right." I'm like, dude, this guy's a fucking goldfish. Like, this guy doesn't even know where he is, and then when he gets told where he is, he forgets immediately. And I was just like, oh my god, man, like 30 seconds later, and it kept happening. He asked like 4 times. He's like, "Wait, why are we here again?" And his mate's like, "Dude, to prove that we're fucking retarded." And I was just like, seriously, just bring over a staff member and get them to listen to this conversation, and you won't have to prove shit. Okay, they'll be like, "Oh, he forgets why he's here. Let's give him government benefits for the rest of the time." Because I was like, for a bit, I thought these guys were trying to like rort the system. Like, these guys were just going to pretend that they're retarded and then get dole money for the rest of their life. That's what heaps of people do. They just pretend they're injured and sick so they don't have to work. And I was like, oh, this is horrible. These guys are just pretending that they're retarded. And then the more he kept asking, I was like, dude, this guy isn't fit to be in the workforce. Like, he'd rock up to a job site and they'd be like, "Yep, today we're building a house." And then he'd rock up and then he'd have like wood and a hammer in his hand and be like, "Wait, where the fuck am I here, bro?" And he'd be like, "Oh, dude," and his mate would be like, "To build the house." He'd be like, right. He's like, "Oh, what the fuck? There's no Wi-Fi. This is bullshit." He's like, "Yeah, bro, we've got to build the house so we can get Wi-Fi." And then he'd be like, "Oh, yeah, true. So he'd start like nailing, and then he'd nail one nail in, and then he'd like pick up the second nail and be like, "Hey, bro, why the fuck am I here?" And then it would just keep going, right? So I kept on overhearing these two guys' conversations, and then they started talking about how hungry they were. They was just like, "Oh, bro, I could eat, man. I could totally eat." He's like, "Wait, why the fuck are we here again? I could eat. And the guy's like, "All right, yeah, we should eat." And like, "Well, what food is there to eat around here?" And they started talking about the local food shops. And then 5 minutes later, they're on the communal computers that you use to fill in like the online forms at Centrelink. They're just on the Pizza Hut website ordering a pizza. And then they're just like yelling out to the staff members like, "Hey, what's the address for this place, bro?" And the online, like, the staff members are behind their desk thinking that they're filling out a form. And they're like, staff members like, "Why do you need to know the address of this place to fill out one of our forms?" And they're just like, "We just need to know the address." And I'm like, and then eventually one of the staff members came over like, "What the fuck are these guys doing?" And the staff member had the same reaction that I had. And he was just like, "Are you guys ordering a fucking pizza on our like computers that are dedicated to just filling in our forms?" And he's just like, the guy's like, "Yeah, man, I can't think when I'm hungry." And the guy should have been like, "Here, have a Snickers." Oh man, that was funny. But yeah, so like 40 minutes later, right, like the dude like quit out of the Pizza Hut website. They got told they couldn't order a pizza to Centrelink. What a fucking surprise. And then they're waiting like half an hour more, and they're just getting really frustrated because like, "Oh man, like we just want to like prove we're retarded and then leave." And I was like, "Dude, you've done that already. Just fucking go. They'll remember you." Like, this happened 2 weeks ago and I'm still thinking about it. Then at like the 40-minute mark, the dude who was like asking, you know, why are we still here, was just like he got so frustrated, he just stood up in the middle of Centrelink, walked out the door, then just went, "Fuck this, I'm getting a job," and then just left. He got so frustrated with trying to prove that he was retarded that he's like, the easiest thing, like the best thing I could do here would just be to actually go to job interviews instead of wasting my time here. Because that way you can order a pizza to a business. But anyway, so that was pretty funny. That happened in Centrelink. I wanted to share that. I was sitting there behind them just writing this down, going, this is good podcast content. Like a freak. Oh, another thing that pissed me off on the tour, I wanted to talk about this. You know, when you book a flight, if you've ever flown, I've never really flown internationally, but like flying domestically, you can book to queue jump. Like, there's a thing on the website, it's like $3 extra to jump the queue at the airport. So like they go, like if your flight's boarding, they go, "All right, queue jump passengers, line up first." Because they give anyone the option to buy this queue jump thing, there's like 20 people who have paid the extra $3 to queue jump. So then they all fucking queue up. And I'm like, you're paying $3 to be in an exclusive queue as opposed to being in the regular queue. I'm like, you're paying dollars to... I don't get... it was just the most ironic thing ever. Like, you're paying money to jump the queue because so many of you have paid for this service. You're all in a fucking queue together. Anyway, I was watching this every single flight on my tour, just like dumbfounded at how stupid these people were. And I also hate when you're about to board a flight and they announce, like, you know, flight JQ, whatever, is boarding from gate 35. And then everyone just stands up and then waits for half an hour while people walk onto the plane. Man, I go like, oh, cool, that means I'm going to go piss in 15 minutes and then I may think about standing up and lining up. But I never line up. I just wait till I'm the last person to walk on the plane because, like, I don't want to be on a plane for that long. Like, these people that they line up, they all want to get on the plane first. And then when they get on, they just fucking sit there because the plane has to wait for everyone else to be on. So, like, dude, why would you pay for queue jump to be on the plane first? So then you have to wait for every single person to get on the plane. The plane's not going to fucking leave if there's still people queuing up. So you're literally paying $3 extra to sit there for an extra 20 minutes with no leg room. That is retarded. Okay, that's the dumbest shit ever. Why would you pay for queue jump? Alright, that pissed me off every single flight on the tour. That's my last rant. It's been on 50 minutes. I should probably wrap this shit up. Actually, no, I'm fucking mad. And while I'm mad, let's just talk about this because this made me angry during the week. Oh, not really. Just like it pisses me off that people like this shit. I think I talked about it last week. I don't know if I have talked about this. I'm like a goldfish, man. Have I talked about the Jake Paul thing already on this podcast? I completely forget. I think I mentioned it. I'm a fucking goldfish as well. Every time I sit down to record the podcast, I'm just like the dude in Centrelink. I'm like, why the fuck am I here, bro? I forget why if I've talked about this. Anyway, this is a new thing that I noticed during the week, so it's not going to be the same thing anyway. So I've become obsessed with this, like, I just think it's so entertaining, this Jake versus Logan Paul thing, and now they're no longer fighting, but they keep putting out these shitty, like, fake raps with each other. And, like, at the start of all these raps, and I was going to do a video on it, but I feel like everyone's done it. Like, H3's done it. Like, everyone's just done these videos, right? So I'm probably not going to put anything out on my YouTube channel about it, so I'll just rant about it here for you guys. But, like, I've been watching just their back and forths and, like, this Jake Paul's vlogs and stuff. And when he puts out one of these shitty rap clips with Logan, like, one was called, like, Rise of the Pauls, and they're, like, saying how they're good friends again, but in the context of cringy rap. And they, at the start of every single song, they just, like, they always go, yeah, we made this in one day. And you're like, dude, don't brag about that. Like, it just shows how little effort you're putting into your content. Like, yeah, if I was like to this podcast, yo, I recorded this in one day, that's accurate, because this podcast is shit. Okay? And, like, I can admit that, but, like, you can't just every day come out and be like, yo, he says it like it's like a brag, like, yo, we just made this in one day, that's how we do it, it's every day, bro. Dude, what? Oh my god, this shit pisses me off. Anyway, so I'm watching all their shitty raps, and they always, like, they've got this in-joke with their fans where they, like, first of all, they got this in-joke where they just merch plug in their bio, which is genius. Like, they have an in-joke where he's like, yo, merch link in bio, but it's like an in-joke, I think. And all the fans go, haha, he said it again. But, like, how do you not see that he's just blatantly selling you shit? Anyway, they have this other thing that he always, like, says, he's like, oh, make sure you guys okay, so this is how they open all their vlogs. They're like, yo, what's up, Jake Paulers? What's poppin'? Hope you're dabbing on them haters. And I just pause it. I'm just like, what? What do you mean? Do you literally mean you're dabbing on your haters as a defense mechanism? Like, you're throwing out, like, a dab and that's how you're hitting them in a dab form? Like, what about if your haters have an assault rifle? Then you've got to get a bulletproof dab. Okay, I don't know. But, like, you don't even need to dab on them, really, if you want to ruin their day. You just got to dab in the vicinity of someone these days and it will ruin their fucking day. Alright, you don't have to dab on your haters, just dab around them. Like, if I saw someone dab near me, I'd be like, oh, that was enough to make me hate you. So, yeah, do that to your haters. Just dab in the vicinity of them. But I hate that shit. And they say it like it's funny. I don't know if it's like an in-joke. I guess I say fat bird shit, like, and everyone else will be like, you know, that's retarded. Look, maybe it's just some in-joke that I don't get, but I hate that dab it on them haters shit. Like, I don't know if you're literally, you know, it would be, like, really rude? Dab in a hater. Like, get up inside them. Like, jab up their ass. That would, see, dab in a hater. Maybe you should, what's poppin', guys? What's up, Jake Paulers? Hope you're dabbing in them haters. And he's just like encouraging you all to fist fuck your haters. Oh man, where has this podcast gotten to? Anyway, that just pissed me off during the week. But I'm so like addicted to watching their filth because like I know it's trash and I watch it because I hate it. Like, and it's so fake, and they have these fake conversations. Like, there's bits in the vlogs where you can tell they've gone, oh, let's shoot that again because you guys didn't laugh enough at my joke. So then he'll say a line, it'll cut, right? He was just talking about a thing, and then it'll cut immediately, and he says the joke again, and then you can tell he said it once before because he says the joke, and the look in the other dude's faces who are in the vlog, and they're like, at his joke, and they just give him like this fake bullshit laugh. And I'm like, dude, like I honestly wish I was rich enough to pay people to laugh at my jokes, but instead I have to just write good jokes or else I'm fucked. Like, he can literally just pay his mates to laugh at his shit jokes. That's their whole job, that Team 10 bullshit. Anyway, if you don't follow it, you'd be really confused. It's just these vloggers on YouTube, and I watch them. I don't watch them every day. Like, I probably skip through, like, you know, one or two vlogs a week, and I'm just fascinated by it. It fascinates me that, not really what they're doing, because I think they 100% know what they're doing. They know their shit's bad, but they've got like 6 million subscribers, and they have like 3 million people. Half of these people watch their shit every single day. And like, I'm contributing to those views, because like, I feel like there's like another million people out there who just watch it because they think it's funny, but I don't get it, man. Like, some people, and I went, like, you know, he always plugs merch link in bio, so I went and just checked out his merch page, and I was just like, he's got everything. He's got, like, socks that don't even have his name on it. He's just put his name on a pair of socks, like, on the label, and they're just plain socks. And he's like, Jake Paul socks, and they're just plain white socks. And people buy this shit. They're like $20 socks, and people are just purchasing his socks just to have his name on it. Man, I should put my name on shit. I should just start walking around going, yo, that's mine, and then just sell it. Would you guys buy it? If you guys would, fucking, I'm going to do that. Actually, on a serious note, though, while we're here, I am going to plug my merch right now. So, all the leftover merch from the tour, I think we counted last night, there's legit only like 50 shirts left. I think less. There's like 4 mediums left. So what's going to happen is, it's just the leftover merch from the tour that I didn't sell. There's a fair few posters left. So if you want to sign poster, if you're from overseas as well, I'm going to work out overseas shipping. I'm hoping to get the merch up in the next 2 days. It depends on, because I'm building a website right now from scratch. I spent all weekend building this stupid website. It sucks. Anyway, I'm getting a mate to help me, but still, I have to build a new website from scratch, because the website I've currently got, you can't embed a merch link through it. So yeah, I've made a new website from scratch using Squarespace. This isn't sponsored. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, don't use Squarespace. Fuck them. Unless they start paying me to sponsor their shit. Anyway, so there's like 50 shirts left. I'm going to put them up on sale during the week, but I'll put them up. You know what I'll do? If you want early dibs at merch, I'll put them up in the Facebook group during the week, because there's really not that many left, and you guys, obviously, I'd rather you guys get the merch before random meme fans buy it. So yeah, so if you want a t-shirt, or I don't know, something happened after the show and your t-shirt, or you wanted two, like, you're like, this t-shirt's so awesome, I want another one, I'll post the merch link when it's up in the Facebook group, probably a couple of hours before I post it on my page. So snap that shit up. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. During the week, I'm about to call the first member of the Elite Task Force. During the week, make sure you keep on applying for all the form submissions. I'll be calling you during the week. I'll be calling you from a private number, by the way. So if you get the call from a private number, pick it up. I mean, it could be some Indian dude from Mumbai, but it also could be me. So, you know, roll the dice. Just pick up any private phone call you get this week if you fill in a form submission, because you might get the opportunity to be a member of the Elite Birdwatching Task Force. I'm now about to call and hopefully initiate, if I think he has what it takes, the very first member of the Elite Birdwatching Task Force. Next week, everyone else will be inducted. We'll have all the names. We'll have all everyone's applications. I will have already done all your calls. And yeah, it's 2 weeks away, the live podcast, guys. So get on it. Come down, get in the Facebook event if you haven't seen it already. It's on my Facebook page. And yeah, so this is the end of the podcast. And this is the phone call with the first mystery member of the Elite Birdwatching Task Force. Enjoy.
This is Lewis Spears speaking. Can I ask who's calling?
It is codename White Dove. I repeat, codename White Dove. I must ask before we proceed, is this a secure line, Lewis?
Copy that, White Dove. Securing the line. I'm encrypting this phone call. Alright, go ahead.
Encryption complete? Great. Okay, White Dove, I'm no longer going to refer to you by your non-bird spotting name. You will now be hence called Birdseye, if that's okay, for just the purpose of this call and this shit meme.
Copy that, White Dove.
So
Memes are go.
Yep. I am calling on behalf of the E.B.W.T.F. You might have heard of us, the Elite Birdwatching Task Force.
I've heard of the E.B.W.T.F.
Yep. And
right up there with the LGBTQI. I know all about your acronym.
Yeah, except people don't fucking hate us. So I'm recalling regarding the a new kind of project that we're all working on. You may have heard of the if you're involved in the community, the infamous Peter Pigeon.
Oh yes, I hear you're hunting Peter Pigeon. I've heard all about this.
And we're actually assembling, as part of our elite birdwatching task force, we're assembling members, making a few phone calls, recruiting. Have you had any birdwatching experience? Could you be of value to our task force?
Listen here, White Dove. I've been out of the birdwatching game for a long time.
Really?
I'm a veteran of Vietnam. We used to spot Vietnamese pigeons living in the jungle, but they weren't ordinary pigeons. These motherfuckers, they didn't want to be spotted.
No, because
they set up traps for humans.
Yeah, napalm traps.
I was in charge of 100 people, and I came back with 5. I can still hear them scream every night when I go to bed.
So you can still hear their bird calls.
Yes, I can.
Cuckoo.
I know what I'm doing.
Wait, does that just...
That's not how a Vietnamese pigeon sounds.
Sorry,
Dove.
How does a Vietnamese pigeon sound? You've proven me wrong. Okay, so essentially your role, your position that I'm inquiring about, we had you in mind for was the role of the watchtower. Now, in that role, you would be, you'd be our Birdseye, hence the code name. You are, how tall are you, sorry?
I'm 6'8", 2 meters tall, which is, I hear, Peter Pigeon's preferred nesting height.
Wow, that is convenient for the purpose of this meme. Now, essentially what you'd be doing on the day...
Yep.
Is just being our eyes. I mean, we don't have eyes up there in the sky. We can't afford a plane because this is a low-budget Australian comedy podcast. So, essentially, I can provide you with nothing more than a stepladder, and you can be our eyes in the sky, and you just report back any bird sightings. You'll have a pair of binoculars, obviously supplied. It's part of the E.B.W.T.F. Protocol. Yep. Essentially, would you be keen to be our watchtower at the live birdwatching podcast?
I tell you what, White Dove, you leave that stepladder at home. I'm not going to need it. I'm a professional, and I'm very happy to join the E.B.W.T.F.
Before we proceed, and before you're officially a member, don't get ahead of yourself. Everyone who's a member of the E.B.W.F, the Elite Birdwatching Task Force, has to take, of course, the sacred birdwatching oath. Are you okay to just take this oath?
I'm familiar with the oath, and I will take it.
Okay, so then you won't have any trouble. So repeat after me. I, insert name, solemnly swear...
I, insert name, solemnly swear.
To focus my passion and lust for fat-flighted fowls.
To focus my passion and lust for fat-flighted fowls.
Onto one fowl only, Peter Pigeon.
Onto one fowl only, Peter Pigeon.
I shall use all thy bird-watching elements.
I shall use all my bird-watching elements.
Earth, wind, fire, binocular, and thy hot chips.
Earth, wind, fire, binoculars, and thy hot chips.
In my pursuit for this girthy quail.
In my pursuit for this girthy quail.
No matter how far Peter may run and or hide.
This is a long oath.
No matter how far Peter may run and or hide.
No matter how far Peter may run and or hide.
I will pursue Peter until one of us dies.
I will pursue Peter until one of us dies.
Cuckoo! Amen. Lewis, can you say amen? Just I thought you were familiar with the oath.
Amen.
Congratulations, you're now a part of the Elite Birdwatching Society. The task force. How does it feel?
It feels amazing to be back in the game.
I look forward to seeing you on July 2nd at the Bird Watching Task Force. Bring your height, bring your eyes, and maybe get platform shoes, or you don't need them, do you?
I don't need
Fuck
any.
it, wear thongs, man. Just you don't need that shit. You're a veteran of the game, and I think, you know, we'll be all grateful that we have you there.
Peter Pigeon will be found.
Fuck, watch out, Peter Pigeon. Thank you very much for joining us, Birdseye, and we'll see you at the live Bird Watching podcast.
Birdseye, over and out.